I will never forget the day my firstborn son came into this world. The anticipation for his arrival had been building for 9 long months, and as I stood by my wife's side in the delivery room, I felt a mix of excitement, nervousness, and an overwhelming sense of responsibility. The room was filled with the rhythmic beeping of machines, the soft murmur of the medical team, and the scent of antiseptic. My wife, Sarah, was a picture of strength and determination, her brow furrowed in pain but her eyes shining with a fierce resolve. I held her hand, whispering words of encouragement, and wiped her sweat-soaked forehead with a damp cloth. As the contractions grew stronger and more frequent, I couldn't help but think about the incredible journey that had taken us to this moment. Sarah and I met in college, fallen in love, and built a life together. Now here we were, about to become parents. The moment of truth arrived as the doctor announced it was time to push. Sarah gripped my hand tightly, and together we faced the challenge. The room seemed to hold its breath as the world narrowed down to just the two of us, working as a team. I could see the determination in Sarah's eyes, her love for our unborn child driving her forward. Time seemed to blur, but then, in an instant, our son began to emerge. I held my breath as I watched the miracle of birth unfold before my eyes. The doctor's calm instructions guided us through the final stages of labor, and I was in awe of the medical team's expertise and their commitment to bringing our child into the world safely. And then, with one last push, there he was, a tiny, squirming bundle of life. The doctor placed our son in Sarah's arms, and tears filled my eyes as I saw her radiant smile and heard our baby's first cries. It was a moment of pure, unadulterated joy. I leaned down to kiss Sarah's forehead, overwhelmed with gratitude and love. Our journey as parents had just begun, and I knew there would be challenges ahead, sleepless nights, and countless diaper changes. But in that instant, all that faded into the background, and all that mattered was the incredible love and happiness that filled that small, sterile room. Meeting our son for the first time was a life-altering experience. It was the start of a new chapter in our lives, one filled with adventures, laughter, and most importantly, boundless love. Holding my wife's hand, gazing at our precious son, I knew that this moment was the beginning of a beautiful and unforgettable journey as a family. In that delivery room, I had witnessed the miracle of life, and I had been given the gift of fatherhood. It was a role I embraced with all my heart, and it was a journey that brought fulfillment beyond measure. Our firstborn son had given us the greatest gift of all, and as he continued to grow and thrive, our love for him and for each other grew stronger with every passing day. I looked at my wife Sarah, she smiled back at me. She had just finished a hard pregnancy, and the reward was our smiling baby boy that we named David. "How are you doing?" I asked quietly. Sarah looked up at me and smiled. "Maybe next time you can be the pregnant one," Sarah said. I laughed a little. "Sure, Sarah," I said as I gently kissed her forehead. "Whatever you say." The first time I held David, I was struck by how fragile and yet incredibly strong this tiny human was. His small hand wrapped around my finger, and I couldn't help but wonder about the future and the adventures that lay ahead for our family. It was a feeling of responsibility and love like I'd never experienced before. Every moment was a new discovery. The first time he opened his eyes and gazed up at us, we felt an unbreakable bond forming. The first smile, the first giggle, and even the first diaper change, though not always pleasant, were all milestones in our son's early life. As parents, we shared these moments together, sometimes with laughter and other times with exhausted tears, but always with an unshakable love that grew stronger with each passing day. 2 years later, I was playing with our son David when Sarah came into the room. She almost looked as white as a ghost. I handed the toy car to David and got up. "What's wrong?" I asked. "I'm pretty sure I'm pregnant," she said, showing me the positive pregnancy test. My eyes widened as panic first developed in me, and then excitement raced through me. I was going to be a father again. Sarah stopped me. She took me by the hand. "Do you remember the promise that you made to me that next time you will be the one who is pregnant?" she asked. I was momentarily taken aback by her words, the promise I had made in jest when David was born suddenly coming back to me. It was a playful comment we had made at the time, never thinking that it would become a reality. I chuckled, feeling a mix of surprise and excitement. "You're right, I did say that, didn't I?" I replied, my eyes meeting Sarah's. I wondered what she could have meant by that. "I mean, there is no way I could carry our unborn baby, right?" Sarah smiled, her eyes filled with both amusement and love. "Well, it looks like it's your turn to experience this incredible journey." I looked at her questionably before she grabbed something from our kitchen table. "Grab this," she said, and I did what I was told, not sure what it was. Sarah pressed a button and both of us received a shock, before passing out.
I awoke a few minutes later in Sarah's body. My head was spinning, and it took a moment to register what had just happened. I looked down at myself, or rather, at Sarah's body. It was a surreal and disorienting experience. I tried to speak, but my voice was now Sarah's voice. Confusion and disbelief washed over me as I looked down at Sarah's hands and body. I was in her shoes, experiencing the world through her eyes. It took a moment to fully comprehend what had just happened. I looked at my own body, now hopefully occupied by Sarah. She was still unconscious, but her chest was rising and falling in a peaceful rhythm. I felt a sense of wonder and amazement at the surreal turn of events. It was as if our playful comment about me being the one to experience pregnancy had taken an unexpected, magical twist. I reached out to touch my now Sarah's face. It was a profound and somewhat disorienting experience, but I couldn't help but smile. This was a unique opportunity to understand pregnancy from her perspective, to truly share in this journey, and to empathize with the physical and emotional changes she would go through. As Sarah began to stir in my body, I watched her eyes flutter open, and a smile spread across her face. It was a moment of pure amazement as we both realized the incredible, almost magical transformation that had taken place. She looked at me with my own eyes, a mix of astonishment and joy in her gaze. "I can't believe it actually worked," she whispered, her voice still filled with wonder. "Yeah, it did," I said, trying to get used to the fact that she was taller than me. "Now switch us back." "No way," she said with a little chuckle. "You promised me you would be pregnant with our next kid, and that's what you will do." I took a deep breath, trying to wrap my head around the incredible situation. Sarah was right, I had made that promise, and it seemed that fate had a way of holding us to our words. I looked down at my new body, feeling the sensations and emotions that Sarah had experienced during her pregnancies. It was a profound and eye-opening experience. The weight of carrying a child, the physical changes, and the bond between a mother and her unborn baby were all becoming a part of my reality. I met Sarah's determined gaze, and a sense of determination began to build within me as well. "All right, I'll keep my promise," I said, my voice filled with newfound resolve. "We'll do this together." As I settled into the idea of experiencing pregnancy from a different perspective, I knew that this was an extraordinary journey that would not only deepen our bond as a couple but also provide a unique and profound connection with our children. Telling Sarah's parents that Sarah and I were expecting a baby was a moment I had played over and over in my mind. Of course, I couldn't tell them that I was really their son-in-law stuck in their daughter's body. We had to keep that a secret. But I knew they would be thrilled about having their next grandbaby, but the butterflies in my stomach still danced with a mix of excitement and nervousness as Sarah in my body, and I drove to their house. As we approached their front door, I took a deep breath, steadying myself for the big announcement. I couldn't wait to share this wonderful news with them, but I also had to remind myself to stay in character and be Sarah. The only thing that was bothering me was that Sarah forced me into a purple floral dress. She said that this dress is what she would wear if she was still in her own body. We knocked on the door, and I could hear my heart pounding in my chest as it swung open to reveal Sarah's parents, both with welcoming smiles. It was a warm summer evening, and the soft golden light cast a cozy glow over their living room. Come in," Sarah's mom said, ushering us inside. We settled on the couch, and Sarah, who is in my body, and I exchanged a quick, encouraging look. I knew he was as excited as I was, and his presence gave me the strength I needed to break the news. Mom, Dad, I began, my voice trembling just a little, we have something wonderful to share with you. I took a deep breath and continued, we're going to have another baby. Their faces lit up with joy, and Sarah's mom let out a delighted squeal, while my dad grinned from ear to ear. I could see tears of happiness glistening in their eyes. Are you serious? Sarah's mom exclaimed, reaching out to hug me tightly. I nodded, tears welling up in my own eyes. Yes, Mom, we're going to be parents to another kid. Stephen and I shared a look of pure happiness, our hearts filled with the love and support of my parents. Sarah's dad pulled me into a hug, and I could feel the strength of his embrace. Congratulations, sweetheart. This is the best news we've heard in a long time. The room was filled with laughter, hugs, and tears of joy as we shared our plans and dreams for the future. Sarah's parents were excited to become grandparents, and I felt incredibly blessed to have such a loving and supportive family. As the evening turned into night, we all sat around the dining table, enjoying a celebratory meal. The sense of unity and love in that moment was something I would always cherish. The journey into parenthood was just beginning, and I knew that with my husband by my side and the unwavering support of my parents, we were embarking on a beautiful and meaningful chapter in our lives. Telling Sarah's parents about our upcoming addition had been a heartwarming experience, one that strengthened the bonds of our family and filled our hearts with a profound sense of joy and anticipation for the new life that would soon join us. As the week went by, I touched my belly, feeling the undeniable presence of our unborn child. The sensations were unlike anything I had ever known. The way the baby kicked and moved inside me, the constant weight and pressure on my abdomen, it was a profound reminder of the incredible journey Sarah had been through with our first child. Emotions ranged from amazement to disorientation, and I knew I had to adjust quickly. It wasn't just the physical changes, it was the emotional connection I now had with our baby. I felt a deep sense of responsibility and love, just as Sarah had when she carried David. Sarah, in my body, had been supportive and understanding, guiding me through this unfamiliar experience. She provided advice on managing the discomfort, navigating the medical appointments, and even the simple yet profound act of bonding with our baby by talking and singing to my belly. As the weeks passed, I went to the prenatal checkups and ultrasounds, watching with a mixture of fascination and anxiety as our baby developed. The growing belly was a constant reminder of the life I carried within, a life that was soon to become part of our family. Sarah and I shared our thoughts and feelings, bonding over the shared experience. It was a unique and intimate connection, and our love for each other deepened as we faced this extraordinary challenge together. With each passing day, I gained a newfound respect and admiration for Sarah and all expectant mothers. The strength, resilience, and the incredible capacity to create life were nothing short of awe-inspiring. As my life in Sarah's body continued, I started planning for the birth of our child. Reading books and articles, attending prenatal classes, and discussing birthing options with Sarah. We wanted to ensure that everything was in place for the arrival of our little one, and I was determined to be as prepared as possible for this new chapter in our lives. As the due date approached, I couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and nervousness, just as any expectant parent would. I knew that the moment of childbirth, with all its pain and wonder, was drawing nearer, and I was ready to face it with courage. As my belly grew, and so did the anticipation. The movements of our unborn child were a constant source of wonder, and I often found myself talking to my belly, just as Sarah had done with our first child. It was a way to connect, to share my love, and to let our baby know that they were already a cherished part of our family. Sarah continued to offer guidance and support, drawing from her own experiences when she was pregnant with Ethan. She assured me that I was strong and capable of facing childbirth, just as she had been in the past. Her unwavering belief in me was a source of strength, and I was grateful for her presence every step of the way. While I had taken the over being the pregnant one, Sarah began the task that I would have done as the expecting father. He set up the nursery, painting the walls a soft, calming shade, and assembling the crib with precision. It was a beautiful sight to see my body transformed by the experience of pregnancy, while Sarah took on the role of the expectant father with grace and enthusiasm. She made sure the nursery was filled with all the essentials, from tiny onesies to a collection of children's books. Sarah's attention to detail and her commitment to creating a loving and nurturing environment for our baby were truly remarkable. It was a reminder that parenthood was not just about one person's journey, but a shared experience, built on trust and cooperation. The day of the delivery finally arrived. I was at work when my water broke. Lucy, my coworker, took me to the hospital where Sarah met us there. I felt a mixture of excitement and trepidation. I was about to give birth in Sarah's body, experiencing the intense pain and incredible joy of bringing a child into the world. She stood by my side, providing the same unwavering support and encouragement that I had given her during David's birth. Giving birth was one of the most intense and beautiful experiences of my life. Sarah in my body, and I had eagerly anticipated this day for months. As the contractions began to intensify, we knew our lives were about to change forever. I gripped Sarah's hand tightly, my knuckles turning white, as the waves of pain washed over me. The hospital room was filled with the rhythmic beeping of machines, the soothing hum of the medical team, and the reassuring presence of our trusted doctor and nurses. Sarah's unwavering support meant the world to me. She whispered words of encouragement, wiping the beads of sweat from my forehead with a cool, damp cloth. I felt an overwhelming mix of emotions, fear, anticipation, and an incredible sense of love. With each contraction, I focused on my breathing and the thought of holding our precious baby in my arms. Sarah's reassuring presence was a lifeline, anchoring me in this moment of intense transition. She was my rock, my source of strength. As the hours passed, the pain grew more intense, and I wondered how much more I could endure. But Sarah's steady voice and loving gaze reminded me that I could do this. I had a goal, a purpose, bringing our child into the world. I had to keep reminding myself that Sarah had been through this before. She knew exactly what I was feeling. The doctor and nurses coached me through the final stages of labor. Their expertise and calm reassurance guided us through the most challenging moments. The pain was excruciating, but the knowledge that our baby would soon be in our arms pushed me forward. And then, with one last, powerful push, I felt an incredible release of pressure, and a tiny, wriggling bundle of life was placed on my chest. The room seemed to hold its breath as we gazed down at our daughter, her first cries filling the air. Tears filled my eyes as I looked at her tiny, perfect face. Sarah and I shared a moment of unspoken joy, love overflowing as we held our child for the very first time. It was a moment of pure, unadulterated bliss. I couldn't help but think back to the journey that had brought us here, the love we had shared, the moments of excitement and anticipation, and the incredible support of our families and friends. This was the culmination of our dreams and the beginning of a new chapter in our lives as parents. As our baby continued to cry, the medical team checked her vital signs and made sure she was healthy. I marveled at the tiny fingers and toes, the tuft of hair on her head, and the incredible miracle of life in my arms. Sarah leaned in and kissed my forehead, his eyes filled with love and gratitude. We were now parents, embarking on a journey of sleepless nights, diaper changes, and endless love. The challenges and the joys of parenthood lay ahead of us, but in that moment, all that mattered was the incredible love and happiness that filled that small, sterile room. Our family had grown by one, and the adventure of a lifetime had just begun. I awoke from a nap that I was having in the hospital. Sarah was over me, smiling down at me. Even though she was still in my body, she managed to make my face smile her beautiful smile. "Are you ready to switch back?" she asked, holding the same device that had swapped our bodies so many months ago. "Not yet," I said, smiling. "Let me enjoy this a little bit longer."